27-24 is the final. Michigan gets the upset victory today, Sam. A come from behind win, all through the power run game and all on the shoulders of Khalil Mullins. Let's go through that final drive, a 63-yard run from Mullins, and then ends it with a 4th down and 1 run there to win the game.
Yeah, this was a gritty, gutsy effort by this team. It was an identity victory. You remember I said you are what you can do,
right?
That this team hadn't established an identity, and this was an identity establishing win. By no means does it say that they've arrived and that they have done everything that they need to do to make themselves the contending team that they want to be. But I think it is a foundation. It sets a foundation that they can build from. And it gets them on a track that I've been talking about for 3 weeks. So told you 3 weeks ago that they needed to lean into they need to lean into the run game. That is where the personnel on this team was most suited to do. And I think you saw that today. So I'm not gonna spend time like my man DG. I'm not gonna spend the whole show saying I told you so. Because that would be a DG show if I did that.
I mean, you sort of are, but it's okay.
I said I'm not gonna spend the whole show. I'm just gonna spend the beginning of the show saying I told you so. All right? But this was, because people were telling me to shut up, stop talking about what it would mean to have Alex Orji in the game. He was going to affect the run game. He was going to affect the run game in a way that elevated it. He was going to affect the run game in a way that would help your defense. He was going to affect the run game in a way that taxed the other defense. Doesn't mean that it fixes all of your problems, but it was going to help you more than what they were doing before. And I think that is the case.
Well, I did talk about it. I want you to address it. I know we're going to talk about Orji. I'm giving you your credit, Sam. You did point it out multiple times. But let's talk about that final drive. And what he put the team on his back.
He did.
And it was one of the legendary runs of a Michigan running back. I mean, I had to see it. It was a Marshawn Lynch type run where he did. It bulleted his way down the field and then got the winning score eventually.
Yeah, it answered the bell in so many ways because there's 4 minutes left to go in the game. Michigan is not throwing the ball at all, and we're gonna have to talk about that because this we're starting out talking about the positives. The negative, the thing that they're gonna have to work on, quite obviously, is they have no passing game to speak of at all. Mm-hmm. This was essentially game one for them as the Orji-led offense. For as much as this is game 4 of the season, this was game 1 of the offense. Mm-hmm. There was basically no establishment. There was no confidence in throwing the ball down the field with him right now.
Okay.
It doesn't mean that there won't be any going forward, but in this setting for this game, they were not doing that. But they were still able to make do because you still have playmakers that could make plays despite that. Khalil Mullins, and this is kind of the point, that you still have guys that even with teams loading up that can make plays against an extra man. And that's what Khalil Mullins did on that play. Because, all right, so the line cleared a path. He breaks the line of scrimmage and gets the first down, but now he shakes free of a man. He beats a man one-on-one who has him dead to rights, spins free of him, and is off to the races. And then the heads-up play that he makes at the end, did you see him reach the ball up like this?
Yeah.
To keep him from punching it free? Mm-hmm. Man, that's just a big-time player making a big-time play, showing that he's a bell cow guy. Yeah. I mean, right when you need it the most, you need chunk plays in that instance, and you feel like, you're feeling pressure in that moment, like we got to have big plays, big yardage plays, and you feel like the only way to get it is through the air, and right when you feel like it's the only way to do it, he answers the bell with a big play like that. And then when it's for the money, it's fourth down. What do they call? They go to the well. And the irony, think about the irony of what do they call? What do they call? You remember in the Texas game, it's the 3rd and 3, or is it 4th and 3? I can't remember what it was, but it was QB power. It's QB power.
It was 3rd and 3. It was something
Okay,
like
it was 3rd and 3. It's QB power, and Giovanni Elhadi pulls on the QB power and he blows the play. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because they call quad power on this play. Who's pulling on the quad power? Giovanni Elhadi is pulling on the quad power for the money. Touchdown, Khalil Mullins. So, man, team victory.
Team victory, absolutely.
The offense answered the bell, but we gotta. I know you're starting with the offense answering in that moment. The only reason they had the opportunity, because they hadn't had a first down.
I'll get to that
in the second half.
Let me set that up.
Until that drive. They hadn't had a first down in the second half, Josh Newkirk, until that drive. This defense, this is what we thought they would be.
Mm-hmm.
This game, all that everybody was saying about USC, and they showed some flashes of it in this game. But Miller Moss came in here, got the hell beat out of him in this game.
Yeah, he went 28 of 51. I would say he got hit. He was on the turf for, say, 80% of his dropbacks today. He definitely took punishment from that Michigan defense. Let's talk about that. You mentioned the struggles. Let's talk the second half. Obviously, Michigan in the first half was able to run the ball. They were the more physical team. Second half, different story. They had their first 5 possessions, 4 3-and-outs, and the fifth possession was a one carry by Donovan and the fumble, which led to the go-ahead touchdown by USC. Michigan was doing nothing offensively. The defense got wore out a little bit. You could even say Will Johnson had the pick for a touchdown. Then they come back. USC's driving down the field, and that double fumble play that Michigan was tired. I mean, USC got the ball again. They scored 2 plays later. It was just one of those things where Michigan could get nothing going offensively, and the defense held them in it. But they did get a little tired there. But then in the end, they held firm at the end of the game.
So let's start off first. To start out the game, they start out the game with a 3-and-out.
4 of them.
Yeah. But out the gate.
Yeah.
I mean, immediately with a 3-and-out. Kenneth Grant, first play of the game. Zeke Berry with a PBU, and I think it was Josiah Stewart, who on the 3rd play of the game gets a pressure, and that was kind of the start of a monster game. Josiah Stewart was the best player on the field today. He could not be stopped. I mean, he had 2 sacks. I think he had some tackles for loss. But, I mean, the only time he wasn't making a play was when they rested him. It felt like, man, every time you saw him on the bench, it was like, oh, my God, why is he on the bench?
Forced fumble.
Why is he on the bench? Like, I guess you had to rest him. I guess he couldn't play every snap. I was like, can you get him back out on the field? Because, I mean, you know, every time he was off the field, it felt like that was when they were making plays.
As they say, he made himself some money.
Yeah, he did. I mean, he was causing false starts. He had to do seeing ghosts. He was phenomenal tonight. Big time plays, and that to me was one of the stories of this game. Miller Moss had been super efficient, accurate, getting the ball out. The average was 2.2 seconds. It felt like an RPO was attached to every play. So it had defenses in the spin cycle. You know, if you played him too aggressively, man, you know, if you played their run too aggressively, he's whipping it outside real quick to a receiver on the outside. You feel like you're slacking off on the run, they're running it up inside. They had an answer for everything. But if you can defend or if you can get pressure with 4, it's the ultimate elixir. And Michigan was able to pressure with 4. They were able to confuse them with sim pressures. They were doing a great job. Wink Martindale did a great job of countering a great tactician on the other side, of confusing a very smart quarterback who's only in his 4th start. But this is one of the things that Lincoln Riley said. This is the smartest quarterback I've ever had. He's had more talented quarterbacks physically, Heisman Trophy winners, right? But he said, this is the smartest quarterback I've ever had. And Wink Martindale came in and kind of had him. First he had him confused, and then he had him shook because he hit him. And you saw him airmail a couple passes, right? Now he hit some because he's going to. They have a lot of talent. And then Will Johnson was out, and he got hurt because Will got hurt. Don't know it. Don't have an update. People are asking me for an update on Will. Don't have an update on Will yet.
He could have gone back in the game, but they held him back.
So
we'll see.
Yeah, so at the end of the day, what I liked is with Will out the last couple of series, you saw some young fellas really step up. Jair Hill, young fella, young Shug, made some big plays down the stretch. For all of the young mistakes that you've seen him make through 3 games, and I'm not saying that he's arrived, against some really talented players, when you know they got to throw the football, with no Will Johnson out there to really kind of, you got Will over there to kind of calm things down. You got to do it. He was out there making big plays. And then Amir Hall, at the very end, a big play to close it out. Brandon Hillman with a big pass breakup. You had some guys really step up in the clutch without the best player in the secondary and the best player on defense out there. Got to give him a lot of credit for that.
Well, speaking of the best player, obviously he wasn't there for the last couple drives.
Huge.
But that interception, huge. I mean, what's your reaction to that?
One of the best. I mean, his career isn't over. He's one of the best to ever do it, man. Will Johnson's one of the best to ever do it. I mean, you think about all the clutch moments that he's had at the University of Michigan. It's like in the biggest games. He's had clutch moments, Big Ten championship, clutch moments against Ohio State, clutch moments, national championship. In this game, USC, it feels like they got momentum. Mm-hmm. They got momentum. It feels like they're season control of this game, and boom, right there, he takes it right back. I mean, I'll say they needed it.
I'll say this, and everyone's defensive of him, but biggest big play corner they've had probably since Charles. And I want to give JD his props too. JD was big time, but biggest big time corner. If he played offense, it'd be
listen. He just set a record.
Right. Most returns for a touchdown.
In Michigan history. Will Johnson.
Right.
And his career is not over. You feel like
it's very comparable to Charles. He's a 3-year starter, just like Charles.
The way he does it, you feel like that's not the last one.
I'm not saying he's better. I'm just saying the best since.
You feel like that's not the last one that you're going to get from Will Johnson. But this was what you wanted to see from this defensive line. You heard we talked about it before the game, and I came back to defense. I said, Josh, this is going to be compared to Texas, but this is the biggest difference between USC and Texas. Yeah, it is Miller Moss and Quinn Ewers. Ewers is better than Miller Moss, but
absolutely,
it's
Miller Moss is no joke.
Man. Yeah, Miller Moss is good, but Ewers is better, right? It's not the same. Sarkisian and Lincoln Riley. I think Sarkisian is better, but they're close. But there's a huge gap between these offensive lines. I mean, the skill positions, I give Texas the edge.
The game was won in the trenches.
But there's a huge difference between the offensive lines. That Texas offensive line is leaps and bounds better than this one.
I agree. Absolutely.
And that Michigan's defensive line is going to have to dominate this game. And that is exactly what they did. They came out and dominated this game from the very start. And that was a tone-setting thing. And you saw, in many respects, them do what they did in the national championship game. Now, they varied some coverages on the back end. They weren't able to do it to the extent that they did in the national championship game because they don't have as veteran a secondary as they did. But they did it enough. They did it enough to keep them somewhat off balance and hit them enough to shake them enough to give an offense that was very challenged. And we can start talking about that now, right? So the offense did what it needed to do. Alex Orji, I think you saw the impact, especially in the first half. People kept wondering when I talked about the impact that having Alex Orji on the field would have on the running game. With a running quarterback, even when they're gearing up against the run, it still makes a difference when you have a guy like that because they have to account for him. It's going to open up some lanes for your running backs to still make hay. And that's exactly what it did. You still saw guys, I mean, whether it was Khalil, Donovan scoring on that power in the first half, they have to account for your quarterback. It opens up your running game more. Now, they come out in the second half and they hold no regard for you as a passing offense at all. And this is where the other piece of it comes in. Now, they got to show some ability, some semblance of a passing game. You didn't hear me say they don't have to throw the football at all.
No one heard you say that.
No one heard me say that. I said it's going to help their run game. It's going to improve their run game. I didn't say, oh, but they don't ever have to throw the football. I said they absolutely have to work on their passing game. They have to throw the football down the football field. And they didn't do that at all. And so thus, when we go back and we look at him not playing the first 3 games, him playing one snap here and one snap there, and when he gets in the game, it's running the football every time. This is the impact of that. So this was essentially game 1. And so because this is game 1, now when he gets in the game and it's time for him to throw the football, he's not throwing. There's no, you don't want to have him throw the football in this situation. So they got to do it. You just to compete at the level that they want to compete at. You're not going to win. You're not going to beat the big time. You're not going to beat Oregon. You're not going to beat Ohio State if he's not attempting passes down the football field.
Well,
now, fortunately, you're not playing Oregon next week, and you aren't playing Ohio State next week.
Yeah,
they got to start working on that next week against Minnesota. That there's just like you can't go into that game and have the same game plan that they had this week. It'll win you the game, make no mistake. It'll win them the game.
Yeah.
But it won't advance the offense. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Am I making sense?
Yeah.
It'll win the game, but it won't advance the ball.
Yeah.
So they got to advance the ball. They got to advance the offense. Hopefully that's what they do.
It's going to be interesting to see how this offense develops. Obviously, Alex Orji, 32 yards passing. That's not like you said, not going to be enough to win the Big Ten with that type of passing attack. We're going to see how they develop. Next week, the Gophers. We're going to see how they go against Minnesota. That's going to be a big game because obviously, I don't care. I'm going out to Washington. I'm going out to Seattle in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You got it. They have to have something. I would say the barometer is probably 150 yards a game, something around that. A poor man's dinar is what I've been telling people. They need something, just somebody at least he needs to be able to run the ball and get some passes.
Yeah, man. There. Listen, you gotta have some faith in him.
Yeah.
You know, trust him to throw the football and live with the outcome.
Yeah.
You know, and he's gonna make some mistakes. You know that. You grow from mistakes. I think one of his best plays was the flea flicker.
So many yards.
One of the best plays was the flea flicker. I mean, I think you got to look at the personnel that you have running down the field on the flea flicker. But I think that was one of his best plays because the ball gets tossed back to him. He looks down the field and it's not open. And instead of forcing it, he pulls it down and runs. That was a great decision, right? So, I mean, to me, that's part of the evaluation of trust. That's part of the assessment of trust. You know, when I give you the play, what did you do with it? You made a great decision. So let me give you another play. You earned my trust. So let me trust you some more. Let me give you another one, right? So I hope that earns him some more opportunities next week because there's just no way that against better defenses than they saw today, or at least offenses that are going to be more potent. You know, I think Oregon is a more potent offense than this, or at least by the time they see Oregon, they'll be more potent than USC.
Definitely going to be the favorite coming into that game. But go ahead.
No, I mean, so how about this? Let's talk about Donovan.
Okay. What about Donovan? Right now, I'd have to say, I mean, I think a lot of people see it. The call is for Mullins to get more carries. He's obviously creating more big plays. Donovan's either hit or miss. And he's not getting turning out the yardage that you want to see from your every down back. But then he hits that big play today That's the type of plays you want to see from Donovan. Those are the type of plays we know he's very capable of. He's done them in big games, big game Don. But then again, you'll see 3 or 4 carries in a row where he gets like 2 yards, 3 yards. People, you're expecting more from him. Maybe just, I don't know if it's a vision thing. What are your thoughts on sort of, it feels like at times he's struggling out there.
Well, I think that they need to make use of his ability to stretch the defense in other ways. I think that there is too much. And I think people get preoccupied with this RB1, RB2 thing. I'm not preoccupied with that. I definitely think that Khalil Mullins has earned more carries.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he is, if you want to call him a bell cow, I'm good with that. I think he is definitely a bell cow back. I think that you need to figure out ways to get Donovan Edwards touches in this offense because he is a home run hitter. And I feel like one of the areas where he can help you most is one of the areas where you're most deficient, and that is playmaking ability on the perimeter. And I think when you look at that flea flicker, that was one of the places that I like, man, I would get him some touches on the perimeter. I would design some plays for him on the perimeter where he is running routes, where he is running vertical, where he is getting vertical down the football field. Where I'm running him on jets. I am figuring out ways to get him touches, whether I'm bringing him on jets, but mainly sending him vertical down the football field. I'm running him on pass routes as well because they are deficient there. And it feels like that's another way to get him involved. They need more from that position, more dynamism. They need more weaponry there. And so whether it's from the guys that are there, like Fred Moore, untapped talent like a Marion Walker. I'm just throwing out names. What I know is they are not getting enough explosiveness from that spot. And so Donovan is another potential provider of that. And figuring out if he can help you there, and I feel like he can, is something that I would spend some time trying to do. So again, I'm just not as caught up in the discussion. If I think you're giving Khalil got 17 carries today, how many more carries you want to give him? 22, 23?
Yeah, I mean, he's not gonna get much more.
Yeah, how many more carries are you going to give him at the end of the day?
I mean, you're just like, he's averaging right around 8 yards a carry. So he has been more explosive.
Yeah.
He has looked more like the bell cow, like you said. Yeah. But I still believe that Donovan can provide a punch. The inconsistencies are obviously what we're all seeing. Everyone's seeing his stance. It's just everyone's seeing it.
You figure out a way, and we've been talking about offensive weapon. Figure out a way to try to more offensive weapon plays, more Percy Harvin type.
I think and this is going to go back to his freshman year. People remember that game against Maryland where he broke the record for receiving yards and catches as a running back. And we really haven't seen him being thrown to exclusively since. And I think that's something where you probably, that would be something that can help him. Maybe throw him in the slot sometimes, do something, move him around, like you said, and maybe utilize his skill set because he is such a great receiver. And I think people do remember that. And we thought we would see more of that. And we really never have.
Yeah. And so that is a big deal, I think, with Donovan. So you honing certain things, honing the plan with Donovan, I think is a big initiative. Some downfield passing with whoever for Alex. I mean, the Alex plan is the most important thing.
Yeah, he needs
so many things with Alex. They gotta trust him to throw the football down the field to anyone at this point. I don't care who. Just let the man throw the football down the football field. They gotta let him. They do need to work on some of the zone reads. They ran a bluff run, and he gave it to Donovan on a bluff run. And when I saw him do that, I was like, I'd be interested to hear them eval that play. because what they coach. I'm just listening to coaches talk about it. What they coach is you really favor pulling on a bluff run, and I would be curious to hear the coaches talk about and to hear him talk about what he saw on the play, because it just looking at it from the press box, it really felt like you pull it and run and go, and go. It felt like an Alex play all the way, but he gave it to Donovan. I think he got like 2 or 3 yards, but it felt like Alex would have got more if he had pulled it and ran with it.
And I'm not.
So it just what I saw from that, and you take it. What I saw from that is, man, having him work more on his zone reading stuff, giving him more +1 runs. Like they were loading the box, so more of your +1 runs where it's a design quarterback run and he has that extra blocker.
Took the words out of my mouth. I would like to see something more with Orji where he's taking the ball in his hands, trying to make some big plays. I felt like more of his runs today were just trying to make something out of nothing. Where you want to see him sort of use his athletic ability. He hit you. That's the reason he's the quarterback. So let's see it more. I think Minnesota is where you start next week. They got the win today, Sam. I'm gonna say this. You've been covering a lot of games. I would say this is one of the most up and down crazy games. I mean, Michigan dominant in the first half. I mean, let's just call it space. Their offense looked bad, and then the defense held on, and then they found a way to win. It was a pivotal game already in game 4 of Sharon Moore's career, but they found a way to win, and it was just a big team win.
Yeah, so let's finish off that way because I feel like I want to make sure we spend more time on this video talking about that, and I hope we did. I didn't time it.
Maybe,
but let's make sure that we spent more time on this video talking about the fact that they just beat the number 11 team in the country.
Yes.
And the majority of the country thought that they were going to lose this game.
Exactly.
The majority of Michigan fans thought that they were going to lose this game. Right? So don't move the finish line now that they won it. Don't say that, oh, USC sucks now that they won it. Don't say, oh, well, Alex. I mean, I see people in the chat now talking about Alex sucks. Oh, the quarterback is terrible. They won the game. I don't care how you win. Who cares how you win? I don't give a damn how you win. That's the most ridiculous thing that
I mean, you could argue JJ won some games last year.
Yeah,
the stat line wasn't the greatest, right? So
who cares if Beyonce wears bloomers? You care if Beyonce wears bloomers?
No.
Who gives a damn? I don't give a damn. I mean, sorry, honey. I'm not looking at Beyonce. I don't care about Beyonce's underwear, but you get the point. You understand what I'm saying? Like, they won the game. So that means everything is on the table and they got time to work on their problems. So don't move the finish line now that they went out there and beat a team. They went out there and the defensive line dominated a team. Right? They went out there and some young guys in the secondary grew up some, right?
Yeah.
Offensive line went out there and actually moved some people. Quarterback, no, he didn't make any plays through the air, but affected the offense in a positive way. Last I checked, those are positive things. Last I checked, winning is good.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Winning is better than losing, is it not?
It's the only thing that matters. It's the only thing that matters. Well, hey, we're going to end on that. That's going to wrap up our coverage here, our post-game coverage here on the Michigan Insider. For Sam Webb, I'm Josh Newkirk.